Okay, so here, what we're gonna do first is like in that video, we're gonna find the working level.
Okay. Look at me. Hey, look at me. Good girl. There you go. This is not gonna play well with me. You put it down the wrong way.
Oh yeah, the one end short, and that one helps open up the clasp.
All right, there we go.
There you go. So we're gonna find that working level.
Yeah.
You're at 15?
Yeah.
Okay, so just to review, because I sent you the videos, right?
Yeah, I watch them.
So we have connection, perception, working.
Okay.
Connection being, like, let's say she's like staring at a squirrel, and you see the twitch, but she's not fazed by it. She just keeps staring at the squirrel. We have connection, but she's not really caring about the collar.
Okay.
Perception is when she's staring at the squirrel, you see the twitch, and she's kind of like, what's going on? Working level would be the twitch, and then like a really big, like, whoa, what was that? Okay.
Okay.
And that working level is going to change depending on the environment.
Yeah.
The change depending on what's going on.
Okay.
So don't get married to a number.
Yeah.
You're just going to go by what's going on in what I call feel. So here at 15, we're going to look where we have the collar placed. We're not going to say anything. We're just going to press the button when I say tap. Okay? So tap, tap, tap. No response. Let's go to 20. And if you land 19, 21, that's fine, just general range.
Okay.
And tap, tap, tap. 25. Tap. There we go. So tap, tap. Do you see the twitch? So we have connection now, okay?
Okay.
So we're gonna try it again. Tap, tap, tap. So you can see the twitch, but she's completely unfazed.
Right.
She's more concerned about the environment, okay?
Right.
So that's connection. Let's go
Okay.
to 30.
Okay.
And tap, 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 right? So you see the bigger twitch,
Yeah.
not phase, 35.
Okay.
Tap, 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 right? Not phase, bump at 5. We're at 40 now, right?
Yep.
Tap, tap, tap. There you go. That's a little bit of perception. Wait a second. Tap. Right, wait a second. Tap, tap. Let's go ahead and bump at 5 again. So it's like a range. It's like a spectrum. It's not like a concrete, this is the level. You could see where she was concerned about it, but then there was a couple where like not really concerned about it. And I'm looking for consistency. I want her to think like, whoa, what's going on here each time, okay?
Yeah.
Tap, tap, tap. Wait a second. Tap, tap, tap. Go ahead and bump at 5. So you see how she's locked onto me right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like if that was the working level, you would see her disengage and stop looking at me.
Right.
Tap, tap, right there. Okay, wait a second. Go ahead and lightly pull up on your leash. Pull up, and then keep up, and then relax, and go to reposition to her right so she's on your left. Okay, we're gonna pause for a sec, and tap, tap, tap. Now up on your leash, tap, tap. Good. So here, that first one, you see how like within 2 taps it got her to get up and move around? How big of a response that was?
Yeah.
So we're getting closer. We're gonna bump it another 5.
Okay.
Because then when you came back and revisited the taps, she was not as sensitive until the 3rd tap. And we're trying to get something within the 1st to 3rd tap, okay? Tap, 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 tap. Yeah, so you see how she's staring at me? Yep, tap, it's okay. There we go. So now, because we're gonna have 2 different levels most likely, you're gonna have your obedience level, you're gonna have your behavior level. Your obedience level is typically lower than your behavioral level.
Okay.
So like, let's say she's locked on and she's staring at me, and you need to break that staring. But for like, let's say for sit, she'll sit on 40, but then to get her to stop staring at me, it's 80.
Right.
Okay, and that's all stuff we're gonna figure out as we go along.
Okay.
We're at, what's the number currently?
55.
55, okay, we're gonna give another tap. 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 Yeah. So here, because she's staring at me, it's starting to stimulate her a little bit. Now she disengages. We're gonna start at 55.
Okay.
We're not gonna jump into the reactivity stuff quite yet. We're gonna see how she does with the beginning stuff, and then we're gonna change things as we go along, okay? So I'm going to demonstrate the exercise for you, and then I'm gonna coach you through it,
Okay.
Any questions before we get started?
No.
All right.
Hi. Good girl.
Now, did you watch any of the videos that we have?
There was a one that auto played, and I think it is what you're about to do.
The heel? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Hi.
it's very easy to teach.
Yeah.
It's just we tend to have bad habits, and you can come closer.
Hi, baby girl.
There you go.
Good job. Right.
So here, similar to the up, yep, and then relax. Very good.
Good girl.
Similar to the consultation, if she reacts, you're gonna pull straight up. But now what we're gonna also experiment with while I'm here is when you pull up, you're gonna rhythmically just tap on the collar to see if she de-escalates faster. Okay? So I train traditionally on the left. That work for you?
Sure. Yeah.
Yep. So here, when we have reactive dogs, we tend to want to shorten up on the leash. Obviously, if they lunge, yes. If they lunge, it just, they don't get the full slack of the leash, or they don't get the 1 to 2 feet, right?
Right.
But here, in order to teach Ember to walk at your side, we have to go opposite to that,
Right.
okay? So that's why I was asking about how she is with people, with passing and stuff. So here, there's 3 key instructions when we're teaching a dog to heel on the left. There's turn, tap, and pull to the left, okay? Every time I say turn, you're gonna make an immediate right turn like this, okay? Always a 180, always to the right. So if she passes you, you would turn, she passes, turn, she passes, turn, okay? So when I say turn, you'll simply do this. And you wanna keep a nice brisk pace, and you wanna keep it fluid. Some people will do like a rounded turn like this. That's incorrect. Sharp 180 like that, okay? The other thing that people tend to do is they tend to stop first, where they'll come to a stop, turn, and then move forward, okay? You wanna keep it fluid, turn, and go the opposite way.
Okay.
When I say tap, that's one press of the button. So tap, 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 or tap, 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 okay? Up, tap, and relax. So that's the rhythm I'll be giving you. When I say the word good, that means Ember just did something that I liked. Okay, so that's more for you, that's not for her, okay? She doesn't know what good means, and she doesn't like me as it is, so it doesn't matter what I say to her. But for you, if you hear the word good, you're like, okay, what she just did, Jessie must have been looking for, okay? Last thing I'm gonna say is pull to the left. When I say pull to the left as you're walking, you're gonna pull to the left and tap as you're moving forward to bring Ember from your right side over to your left side. Once she's at your left side, we would of course stop tapping. So we're trying to teach her to target this kind of pocket here.
Yeah.
Okay, questions?
Can you re-explain that last part? I don't know how to get her to...
The pull, so if you're holding the leash,
Yeah.
and Ember tries to come over to your right side, as you're walking, you're gonna pull to your left and tap to bring her from your right side over to your left side.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Other questions?
No, that's it.
For your slack, let's, we'll start with that for now. Typically we do more, but we'll start with that for now. Okay? When I say bike or something, that means someone's coming up behind you. It looks like it got busier. Tap, 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 tap. There you go. Tap. Yep, you got it. Now relax. Tap. Tap. We're at 55.
Yeah.
Go 60.
Okay.
Tap. There we go. Up. Tap. Tap. Good. Tap. tap, tap. Now relax.
Good.
Good. Okay.
No.
Up, tap, tap. Relax. Good. Okay. So here, as we progress, I normally don't do taps this early for stuff like that, but because she's already got some kind of foundation with the prong and stuff, I'm just adding in some more.
Okay.
So we're pairing the remote pressure with the prong pressure. So the pressure, the prong is telling her what to do. Up means de-escalate, and the e-collar is just helping her is motivating her to do it more quickly,
Right.
and to keep to it. So I want to get to a point where I can walk by and go like this and stuff, and then she doesn't do anything.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead and bring her over. Okay. And you're gonna relax and forward. Turn, tap, tap. Good. Turn, tap, tap. Good. Keep forward. It's because of the muzzle with the rubbing. Yep. So you can, oh yeah, I see. You're good. Hold a sec.
Good
Up,
job.
tap. Good. Relax.
Yes.
Good. Going to give a wee bit more slack. Like there. Good. And forward.
Let's go.
Yep. Pull left tap. Good. Now relax. Good. Turn. Tap. To your right. Yep. You got it.
Oops.
Good. Good. Turn. Tap. Tap. Good. Keep forward. Good.
Hey.
Pull you off. Tap. Good. Keep relaxed. Tap. Tap. Good. Bit of slack. Good. Keep forward. Go and turn. Tap. Tap. Pull left. Tap. Tap. Good.
Come here.
Tap forward. Yep. Up tap. Good. Relax. Good.
Good
Tap.
girl.
Forward.
Let's go.
Good. Turn. Tap. 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 Good. Keep forward. Relax. Good.
Good job.
Good.
Yes. Good
And
girl.
then relax. Good. Now slow walk, slow turn, good turn, good. Pick up your pace, good. Good.
Yes. Good girl. Good girl.
Good. Back to sidewalk. Yep. And then slow to slow turn. Right to the right.
Oh.
Now forward
Sorry, girl. Excuse me.
and then relax. Good. So like right, pull left tap. Good. And then relax. Is there because you turn inwards. You always want to turn outwards. At this stage, you'll always go outwards. Okay. Pull left tap. Good. And relax.
Yes. Good girl. Good job.
Turn, tap, tap. Good. Give a little bit more slack. Good. Then slow. Pull left tap, tap, tap. Now slow turn. Good turn. Yep, and forward. Yep,
Hang on. Let's wait. Let's wait for her to go.
up tap. Good. Slack. There you go. So when you shorten it, and when you start to move again, you'll just give it back again. Okay? Pull left tap. Good. Now slow walk, slow turn, good turn. Yep, now forward, good.
Good job.
Now you're gonna bring her here and then slow to a stop,
Right, girl.
then up and tap, tap, and then now you'll shorten, correct, very good. So here, because you've done training before, right?
As a puppy, yeah.
Had you taught the heel before?
Loosely.
Okay.
She kind of like drifts. Is very led by her nose, I would say.
Tap. Right, good. She's led by her nose?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I tell her to heel, she'll do it, and then I'll give her a treat, and then she kind of speeds up. She's like, "Yay, I did it!" And she just starts going.
Gotcha. So heel, there's a couple of different approaches or theories to training it, depending on the trainer. Some trainers teach heel as a come to my side and then stay at my side.
Right.
Or as a just come to my side. I train it. For me, heel is walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop. Okay. So when you cue heel, her right shoulder should be to your left leg. Okay? So think of the obedience as clocking her into work. So when you say heel, it's expected that you keep that right shoulder to your left leg.
Right.
That's why the slack is important, okay? Now, let's say you're walking in an environment that didn't have as many people, I would have that be completely slack, okay? So because if you're walking with her for 30 minutes, complete slack, and you've said heel or whatever, and she's at your hip, for nonstop, she stops when you stop, she speeds up when you speed up, she slows down when you slow down, that's heel.
Okay.
It's not momentary for, come here for the second, get your treat and then go. It's come here and then stay here, okay? So everything that we teach, sit, stay down, come, place, heel, is meant to be applicable, okay? The issue is it important enough for the dog to do it? And that's what we're doing through pressure, okay? So with the e-collar, we started at 15, worked our way up, and then I think at 20, 25, we saw that connection, but no, she wasn't phased, and we went up like 10 or 15, then we started to see her be like, what's going on? And we just kept going up, right? So the defining factor is her reactivity.
Right.
If I keep approaching you and she keeps blowing up, that tells me the number that we're working at is not yet important, okay? However, you also have to learn the concepts, okay? So it's a balance of me pushing her, but at the same time not overloading you with so much information that we don't make any progress.
Right.
Okay? So that's why it's been incremental, and we've been going up in jumps of 5.
Okay.
We don't pick the number.
Yeah.
She picks the number.
Yeah.
Okay? Tap. Wait a sec. Good. She picks the number. Okay? Because if she was, let's say she was lunging at me and you tapped her at 20 and she just shut up and sat down.
Right. You don't
20.
need to go anymore.
Exactly. And this is the biggest thing that people struggle with is the number, because they feel bad. Okay, they think, oh, Jesse, but I'm at 80. I'm like, I understand that, but because we're logical and we're thinking 80 out of 127, which is 2/3 of the power. Tap. There. Good. And I'll explain more of this too as we go along. Is we're thinking 80 is 2/3 tap, is 2/3 of the power, because we're logical. But that's what she needs.
Right.
Okay? So if it's, like I don't want to go past 20, tap, we don't get anywhere. Okay? So here, what we're doing, do you know what we're doing right now?
Conditioning? Conditioning?
Well, the heel, that was conditioning.
Yeah.
What are we doing now, though?
I don't know.
We're correcting.
Okay.
So people are passing by, and because her back is to these people, what's that? What's that?
Right.
Who's that? Right? And what you're telling her is, don't worry about it.
Right.
Don't worry about it.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Okay? Because she's a nervous energy, sudden movements trigger nervous dogs. Okay? So like last time when we were talking, remember how you had to keep pulling up and if I moved and stuff? And even with me standing still in one spot, at some point she would just start staring and then trigger, right? Now what we're doing with the e-collar is teaching her how to be in a passive state. Her focusing on you so that she can deal with what's going on here. But then because she knows that the collar turns on and turns off, she's learning this is communication.
Right.
Okay? So right now, each individual tap was, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that, right? So she's thinking, well, crap, every time I turn around to go check out what's going on, this happens. What happens if I don't turn around?
Yeah.
Nothing happens.
Right.
Plus, nothing happens with the thing that she thinks she should be worried about.
Right.
So then she goes, oh, like this whole time I've been living my life thinking runners and kids and bikes behind me is a thing. And we're going, no, because she has to be able to have it happen and nothing happen.
Right.
Okay? So she's thinking, if I don't turn or I don't escalate or I don't become reactive, that doesn't happen.
Right.
And then when this passes, nothing happens there either.
Right.
So it's been me. Okay? So she's assuming threat.
Right.
So we cannot explain to her, hey, it's okay, it's just a bike. There's nothing to worry about. It's just a kid running around, right? Nothing to worry about.
Right.
She doesn't understand that. She just goes, I don't like that thing coming by me.
Right.
Okay? Or I don't like Jesse approaching us in our personal space. Okay? Does this all make sense so far?
Yeah.
So it's pieces to a bigger picture. Okay? So here, you can disagree with anything and everything you don't like. Aversives are meant to stop things.
Right.
Okay? You run a red light, you get a ticket. You go past the speed limit, you get a ticket. You commit a crime, you do the time, right? All those are aversives to deter us from doing those things, okay? Same thing for her, except for her, the aversive has to be physical because she doesn't have a concept of finance, punishment type of deal, you know?
Right.
She doesn't have a concept of like, oh man, you put me in my kennel for 2 hours and I lost 2 hours of my life to the kennel.
Right.
She doesn't think that. There you go. She doesn't think that way. Here she's thinking, every time I do something and this goes off, if I stop doing that, it goes away. And then up on your leash, and then tap, and then relax. Very good. So you see how she's starting to move away this way? Because now she's trying to get, like, decipher, like, is it this? Do I need to get away from this? Or is it what I'm doing?
Right.
And that's why the repetition is important, okay?
Right.
So eventually, something walks by, and she does it, look. There you go.
Gotcha.
Tap, 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 right there. Good, okay?
Yeah.
So, but right now you have to be on it. So I have a very similar case, but it was a Rottweiler.
Okay.
Man, her head was on a swivel.
Yeah.
So, tap. In the beginning, the guy was tapping all over the place until we found a number and a rhythm that would just break her.
Yeah.
And now she's like, okay, I don't want anything to do with that. So now it's the little residual of every now and then something happens too quickly. She has a moment that we have to stop. But now we're not getting none of this stuff.
Right.
Okay? But she can't do it herself. She needs you to help her do it.
Yeah.
And we do that through the physicality.
Yeah.
Okay? Questions on any of this stuff so far?
So I'm assuming I should practice with her.
Tap. Tap. Tap, 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 tap. Go ahead and bump it. Go up 10 levels. And tap. Tap. Tap, 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 tap. And then relax. Good. Go ahead.
I've been practicing with her like by myself. Do I start from 0 every time and like get a
with the
new
number and stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
So for the first week,
Yeah.
until we start to get ranges,
Yeah.
you'll always start at 15 and then work your way up.
Okay.
So what I suggest is when you go out for a walk, you're gonna go give her a potty break, okay? Once she's done with the potty break, she's peed and pooped, we're done. You come to a stop, and then it's best if you're stationary. Okay, tap. It's best if you're stationary because it's more obvious when she feels the stim and her reaction. Okay, as opposed to if you're moving trying to do it.
Right.
Okay. So here at 15, I have what I call my 3 tap rule.
Okay.
That means tap. With every 3 taps, if we don't see a response, we bump it 5 levels.
Okay.
That's exactly what we did earlier, right?
Right.
And then there were certain times, like when we saw her give that big movement, where I said hold, and then we did another 3 because I want to see is it consistent. And sometimes it wasn't, so then we kept going up higher. Right. So eventually we found a number that was getting her to move off of a couple of taps, and then I go, okay, we're gonna start at that range. But then right now, because she became reactive, I said don't go up 5. We went up 10 to get her to de-escalate because now that was a behavioral mode. Okay.
Right.
So obedience number and behavior number may be different.
Okay.
So that's why I was like, don't get married to a number.
Right.
Tap, tap, good. Tap, tap. Now up on your leash, tap, and then relax. Very good. So once you get used to it, you're just gonna find yourself going up and down because you'll be able to read the situation. Okay. So the reason why we do the jumps of 5 is it allows us to see, tap, allows us to see what's working. Because if I just come in and assume like 80, well, I don't know if 40 would have worked. Does that make sense?
Right.
So by going lower and working your way up, you're doing the homework and you're kind of getting a feel for how she responds to certain ranges, what the typical connection level is, what the typical perception level is. But what's most important is always that working number. Okay. So like, let's say you're walking and then I were to see you on the sidewalk, you're like, oh shit, it's Jesse, 80.
Okay.
Right? Like you already know the situation. So then we just go there. So, because if we always go low to high, for the dog, it can be worthwhile to perform the behavior until you hit that number.
I see, yeah.
Okay? So right now, at this phase for this week, you'll come outside, potty break, stop, be stationary, start at 15, tap, 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 no response, 20, tap, 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 no response, 25, tap, tap. You just keep repeating it, right? So eventually maybe you hit 55. And at 55, she goes, whoa, what was that, right? And you go, okay, I'm gonna start at 55. And then you're on your walk, but then as you're on your walk, you start to notice, because you give her slack, she's forging. What do we do when she forges?
Tap.
And?
Pull her back to my side.
Nope. What were we doing earlier?
Turning?
Yes, tap and turn, okay? So you're walking with her, you give her the slack because, like I mentioned earlier, we tend to take away the slack and not give the dog the opportunity.
Yeah.
But she needs the opportunity to make the mistake so that we can correct her to teach her what to do instead.
Right.
Okay. Now the pull back with the tap, in my book, doesn't work. Okay. So if you're walking with someone and they start to walk too fast, you can smack them and say, "Hey, you're going too quick. Slow down." And they slow down. "I'm sorry," and then you walk together. Right? Dogs don't do that.
Right.
So for her, when you give her that slack and you're tapping and she gets ahead of you, she feels the collar, she goes, "Hey, I don't like this." She turns around, she starts to go, she sees you going the other way, she catches up and disappears.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Hey, wait a second. That was weird. I felt the collar and then mom was doing something different." And then she passes you again.
Yeah.
Turns on. What's going on? Oh, mom's going that way now. She catches up.
Right.
It disappears. So she's learning, hey, every time I feel this, mom is doing something different.
Right.
Okay? So now it becomes a line of communication. So even though you could be at 60, 80, the dog's not seeing it as a punisher because of the way you're layering it in. The way most people do it is heel, blast, you know, or they'll zap the dog to come back, and the dog will literally look at you like, what was that for? Okay? Because they cannot connect the dots. You have to make it stupidly obvious of you're getting corrected because you're going that way and I'm going this way. Okay? So it's teaching her to turn off pressure. She wants to come to this side.
Yeah.
Okay? Questions? Good.
Good so far.
So here, you see how much I'm moving around and how reactive she's not being, right? Compared to our consultation. And I'm doing a lot of big movements on purpose because our consultation, remember how reserved I was?
Yeah.
Because I was trying not to trigger her. But now we have a tool that can stop her. Yep. And deter her. There we go. See how she puts her head back? That's so if you see here, her putting her head behind you is what we call avoidance behavior.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't worry about that stuff, and don't worry about the vocalization either. Okay. We'll talk about it as we go along. It's because of discipline. Okay. Now there's something in her life that's more concerning than a Mexican guy waving his arms in front of you.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it does.
So positive reinforcement is great for stuff you want to see again.
Right.
Put your butt down. Go girl. You know, come to me. Go girl.
Right.
Problem is, well, if she doesn't want to because there's something more valuable and or more stressful,
Right.
we have lost that.
Right.
Here, regardless, whether there's something more rewarding or if there's something more stressful, we can override all of that. Okay, so that's what we're teaching here.
Yeah.
So when it comes to remote work, in my book, it should never feel like an argument. If it feels like an argument, we're too low. Okay, so like earlier when she gave her first lunge and then she was like tap, 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 right? And I said, go 10 levels. And then within a couple of taps, boom, she just shut down, right? And all this other stuff, she's just been like sitting there fine, right? It should feel that obvious. It should feel that quick, okay? Then the concern people have is like, well, you're just, you know, how'd you say, suppressing the dog. The difference here is she's learning she can be in my presence and not have to feel threatened.
Right.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
So she's thinking, when I assume threat, this happens, I don't like it. Jesse's behaving the same, he's still here, he's not going away, but nothing's happening. That's how we start to teach her, like, you can see people and people can approach and all this stuff, you don't have to feel threatened because she has to be able to be in the context and feel it and not react, and then everything is still fine.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Other questions?
none so far.
What's our number currently?
70.
70.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's say when you're walking with her, tap. When do you expect to see reactivity?
The most reactivity she has is when we're exiting my building.
Okay.
Because there's other dogs in my building
Uh-huh.
and there's other people and it's a tighter space.
Yes.
But it's not. It's like with like when we're walking on like pavement or something, like she expects where people are gonna go. They're gonna pass her. But if we're in the back of my building, it's more ambiguous. They could go anywhere and then she gets stressed out.
Okay. So in the beginning, the hallways or exiting your building is probably gonna be the hardest. Okay.
Yeah, we go out the back.
Okay.
So I can kind of like
Avoid.
time when people are coming and going.
What I would suggest, yeah, see how she like naturally looked away? Okay. So then we don't do anything there.
Okay.
Because she made that decision, and what you're gonna do here is anchor yourself face back this way, like you were before.
Yeah.
Move a little bit more forward. And you're gonna pull her forward like this. Give a little tap, tap, tap. A little bit more of a pull, tap. There you go, a little bit more of a pull, tap, tap, pull, pull, pull. Yep, pull. It's okay. Now up. Tap, tap, tap. And then relax. Very good. So here, I don't mind that she goes away, but then what I want her at some point to start figuring out, like, I have to just take this.
Right.
So then you stayed anchored, we bring her back into the space. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now she blows up again because she sees me here, but then you see how quick when you went boom, 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 back in line.
Right.
Okay. So when she kicks into reactivity, our first instinct should always be straight up and then pressure.
Okay.
Until you feel the body relax. Once the body relaxes, everything goes away. Okay. So in order for her to learn relaxation, you have to give relaxation back. Whereas if we're always sitting there tense with the collar tight, she's not learning.
Right.
What's
She's just more stressed for no reason.
correct. So there has to be a bit of trust. Trust, and I trust that she's going to behave herself. And if she's not, I trust in my ability to make her behave herself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So here at the beginning, you can do the avoidance and just avoid that area of the hallway. As you progress, and this all comes down to your confidence level, you decide, like, because to know where she's at is you confront these things. Because dogs are aware of avoidance. Like if you like cross the street for something, like they're aware of all that because it's a thing that all animals do.
Yeah.
So then when it becomes like, all right, we're walking down the hallway, we're getting on the elevator, we're doing this, right? Now she's like, oh shit, like mom's actually like pressing this. But now you have a tool to stop everything.
Right.
Okay. So then as you start to expose her, now she starts to get used to life. Now it's like, okay, like I can be in the hallway and see people passing by and stuff and not have to feel threatened, or see dogs and not have to feel threatened.
Right.
But if we always withdraw, the dog never overcomes that, okay? And there's gonna be times where like keeping her on your left side is not wise, because it might be person, dog, dog, person. You can move it to your right side, okay? That's more handler stuff. In the beginning, we're talking about obedience. It's easier to keep the dog on a certain side, because this way it's not, if I tap her, which side is it today? It's always consistently the left side, okay? Other questions?
So I probably am going to go to a different place this weekend with less people. I'm probably going to find that my number is lower because
Potentially.
there's less stress. Is that okay?
Yes.
Because I'm still going to be practicing later with more stressors, and I would assume the number is going to be higher. I'm just kind of.
Yes. So
Sound right?
remember, your working number is going to change according to the environment. So if you go out and you practice in an empty room, it's probably going to be really low. Okay.
Maybe 0.
Yeah. So,
Almost.
but you want to always see that kind of what was that?
Yeah.
That's always the working level. Like, whoa, what was that? Okay.
Right.
Regardless if you're in an empty room versus when you're outside.
Yeah.
Yes, your numbers are going to change. Okay. What I care about is how is she doing behaviorally. Okay. That's the biggest factor. So if you came back, you're like, hey, Jesse, I was at 35, and she's been completely chill the entire time, and we passed by arch nemesis and all these things. A little bit of a lip lick.
Good girl.
And then back to that, okay?
Good job.
And no reactivity, well, we're making progress at 35 then, okay? So it should not feel like an argument. So if you're always like tapping 100 times, that's
It's
an
just like
argument.
a, hey, cut it out.
Yes, okay? But in order to get that immediacy and that like it's not because I'm impatient. It's because dogs don't ease each other into things.
Yeah.
You know, like she didn't like me approaching you. So what did she do? Lunge and bark.
Right.
And snap. She didn't say like, excuse me, sir, please don't get close to us, right?
Yeah.
I'm warning you,
Yeah.
and then lunge and bark. She was just like lunge and bark. Dogs don't ease each other into life. If a dog did something to her and she didn't like it, she would just bite them. That doesn't make her aggressive. She's just going, I'm gonna set the boundary and I'm gonna set the boundary like this.
Right.
Okay? This was a dog bite. Dog didn't want to go in the kennel.
Yeah.
It's that simple. So here, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna ease the dog into it because they don't ease themselves into it as it is. I'm talking her language from the get-go. And that's why it's a very obvious, like, oh wow, like she's learning to behave herself. And now she's just put herself in a more relaxed state. She never did that last class. The entire time she was either triggering, staring at me, or just sitting there waiting to like trigger.
Right.
Now she's completely on her hip, side, open mouth, panting, ears back, passive state, and not staring at me the entire class. Okay, questions?
No, I'm good.
Let's go ahead and we're gonna dip the number down. We were at what again?
70.
7, let's go back down to 60, because now we're switching to obedience mode. Okay? So we're going down lower because we're anticipating we don't need the pressure. Go ahead.
Okay, let's go.
Good. Good, keep relaxed. There you go, good. Yep, keep forward. Pull left, tap, tap, good. Relax. Slow to slow turn. Good turn, keep forward. And then you'll step across right there, okay?
Come here.
And then slow to a stop,
You sit.
up, tap, good, relax, shorten leash.
Good girl.
Go ahead and shorten. There you go. Okay, we're gonna pause right there
Good girl.
because we have a dog coming this way, okay? So here, when you work with her in a more quiet space, right now you're giving her like a foot and a half of slack. We would give her like 2 to 3 feet of slack.
Yeah.
I want the slack hanging by her armpit, okay? So when you're walking with her, good. When you're walking with her, and she's got that 3-foot slack and she's staying at your hip for 15 minutes before you have to correct her, that shows you she's picking up on the concept,
Yeah.
okay? Going to give slack back. Now here, go to give more slack. And then relax right there. So you see how the leash is hanging by your armpit?
Yeah.
Okay? When you walk and you're working in a quieter environment in the beginning, that's the amount of slack you want to give.
Okay.
The leash should hang by the armpit. Okay? Go ahead and take up slack here. Very good, like that. When you're in a busier environment, you're taking up more in anticipation of, but you still want to give her some kind of leeway.
Yeah.
Okay? So as we progress and your confidence goes up in her, not in just yourself as a handler, but also in her ability to like not be reactive, you're gonna start to see yourself giving a little bit more slack, but always being aware of what's going on in the environment.
Okay.
Forward. And then towards, down the sidewalk. Good, and then relax.
Good girl.
And you're gonna keep forward, but you're gonna hug to the right along the gravel here.
Okay.
Yep, and just keep pushing forward. Turn, right turn. Tap, tap, you got it, good fix. And relax and keep forward. Good, keep relaxed. Good. Tap, 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 tap. Right, good. Go ahead and slow turn. We're gonna try it again, okay? And you can step to the side here for the dog.
Okay. You sit.
Tap. Good, relax, shorten, good.
Girl.
You're good, go ahead and give slack, move forward.
Okay.
Good.
Should I be saying the word heel?
Not yet. I'll talk about that later.
Okay.
You're gonna go to slow turn. You're gonna try the sound again. Keep forward, nice and relaxed. Tap, tap, tap. Good, tap, good. Good.
Good job.
Good, keep forward, hug to the right, you got it. Good, slow to slow turn. Good turn. Keep forward, tap. Tap. Good. Good.
Sweet.
Yep, good, you got it. Good. Slow to slow turn. Good.
Good job. Yes. Come here. Good job.
Pull left tap, good. Then relax. Tap, 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 tap. There we go, good. Tap, good. Go ahead and slow to slow turn. Tap, 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 forward. Keep forward.
I was gonna overcome it. Good job. Sorry.
You're fine. And you're gonna go ahead and cut over and then bring Ember here.
What's that?
You're gonna go to cut over, bring Ember here.
Okay.
And slow, stop, tap, up, tap. There you go. Go ahead and bump it 10.
Okay.
Good. So I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna put a little bit of spatial pressure and talk a little bit, okay? Tap, 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 bump it 10. There you go, now relax, good. Now here, when you pull up, if you feel like you're working out, you're doing too much.
Okay.
Okay, just enough that you feel the pressure, the tension go up, and that you feel like you got her contained, okay? So here, the upwards pressure, if you feel like you're doing too much, we don't know if it's the e-collar or the prong collar that's getting her to de-escalate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I want to put everything to the remote collar. So like here, when you're walking by and I made the kissy sounds and she started lunging and you went boom, 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 right? And right away, what? And then back to the task at hand, right? Is we're giving her a reference point.
Right.
Don't worry about Jesse and his annoying noises. You just walk at my side, okay? And then repeat that a few times. And then she would look at me or like, give the growling and stuff because we hadn't reached the number to fully deter her. Okay, so we went from 60 to 70 to 80 just now. Okay, and then I come in and I give spatial pressure, meaning coming in closer, but then I also did the kissy sounds. So that was greater than what I was doing earlier of just approaching in and just talking. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like when we see stuff like this, for the owner, they're thinking like, oh crap, like the dog blew up again. Yeah, because I'm doing more.
Yeah, she has to be exposed to it to know that she shouldn't be doing it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's why with the working number, depending on what's going on within the moment, your number is gonna be lower or higher. So like let's say walking past a dog in the hallway versus walking past another reactive dog on the hallway, okay, are two different things. The calm dog could be 60, but then the other reactive dog, you could be 100.
Right.
Because the energy that they're giving off,
Right.
okay? So all these things are things that I expect to see.
Okay.
When you come back in a week, you're my feedback. Hey, Jesse, we saw like tons of triggers. And she only, out of 10 of them, she only blew up twice. What was going on in those 2 moments? One dog lunged and barked at her, and another one was a bite that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I go, makes sense.
Right.
Right, because one was abrupt and one was because of higher energy, right? I go, not a big deal. We're gonna make some adjustments, do the second half of heal, tweak the numbers a bit, go off and do some more homework, okay? Because it's a spectrum, and when it comes to other reactive dogs and or sudden surprise moments, like with bikes and all that stuff for reactivity, it's because you can't plan for them.
Right.
Like you could be walking and someone's dog blows up right here. And they didn't look like they're gonna do anything prior. Like,
Right.
so you can't plan for that.
Right.
Or you just turn the corner and like, there's a moment. So that's why, and you're good with this, with stepping aside and shortening the leash, is what you're doing is you're building habits, okay? So if I were to turn a corner and get surprised and the dog becomes reactive, my first instinct is always choke up on the leash and pull up, because that gives me the most control, and then I kick in with the e-collar, okay? So then I can correct the dog, and let's say you happen to have it at 90, and she's like, yip, 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 yip. In response to the collar, goes, oh shit, that sucks. And the next time you get her set and running, she's like, nope, not gonna do it. Because you've already encountered it before, but you happen to be at a number that also deterred it the next time it happened,
Right.
okay? So it's gonna be a lot of trial and error.
Okay.
But that's where exposure is key.
Right.
So if you start in a quieter environment, and then you feel like this is good, and you move to a busier one, to a busier one, to a busier one, that's what we need to do, okay? Questions on any of that?
Before you mentioned, it sounded like we kind of ramp up what we do and don't correct. Should I only be correcting her on healing habits and not like reactivity habits right now?
So good question. So your heal is happening faster, much faster, because there's already some kind of baseline, even if it was just with food. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I saw that right off the first turn and tap. She just was right here, and then she was like kind of walking like this with you, right? So I was like, all right. I was like, she's got a good foundation down. It's just a matter of making it meaningful, or she's not going to forge. Because that's what the real test is. I walked my dog for an hour, and she kept forging. We were too low. Okay. It should be I walked my dog for an hour, and she stayed right at my side, stopped when I stopped, turned when I turned, sat when I whatever, right?
Right.
So now, if you're feeling good and you feel like, because it's pretty simple, right? And when you see something, you have the natural inclination already to step aside, because that's what I have my clients do. Is I go, if you know you have a potential trigger coming, don't try to cross the street or hide behind a car. We're going to confront it.
Yeah.
So here with the sidewalk, what I tell my clients to do is, usually it's sidewalk, grass, curb, is that if they see a potential trigger coming, they'll walk to the grass curb here and face the stimuli.
Okay.
And then they shorten the leash.
Okay.
So if she became reactive because you have the leash short, she's not going to have that much range of motion. Because if you leave the 2 to 3 foot slack, she's got 2 to 3 foot of slack to go out forward. But if I shorten it and I'm right here, tap, 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 tap. Now relax. Tap. Good. Tap. Now relax. Good. So here, remind me to talk about tapping and then causing the reactivity. Okay. So here, you step aside, you shorten your leash, and you're anticipating something's going to happen. You could already have your number preset. And the way I go off of it is failures. So if I go at 60, the dog was reactive and kept being reactive, and the moment passed, I don't work at 60 the next time. I'm going to be at 65, 70. Okay. So that's why last time we went 60, 70, 80. Okay. So here, let's say you're at 80 and she's blowing up and you're tapping, and the next time, and we go, it didn't work. The next time I'm at 90. Same thing, she blows up and I'm tapping, she's still blowing up, it doesn't work. The next time I'm at 100, she blows up, tapping 100, blah, she just sits down. And she's like, holy crap, what was that, right? I go, oh, that was easy. The next time, 100, because that was what worked the last time. And let's say nothing happens. Stop and then deter. That is what we're trying to do here, okay? So if at 100 you're noticing like, yeah, it was one tap, shut her down, and then it didn't happen for 2 to 3 times, and then she was reactive again. You tapped her at 100, shut her down right away, and then you don't see it for the next 5 to 6 times. And then she blows up, tap her at 100. Then you don't see it for 15 times, right? Is you should see the consequences causing a bigger and bigger gap between all the times that she's attempting to do it, okay? So everybody's different. It all just comes down to the owner, because the owner's like, well, I feel bad. Like, I don't want to be up this high, or my dog is yelping and all this stuff. And I go, I understand that, but if the dog is still willing to gamble the reactivity, it means, like, I didn't walk away from a spanking smiling. I was crying. And that's how I learned my lesson, okay? You might get this where the tap triggers Ember. Okay, so then the person goes like, oh shit, well, I just made the problem worse. So what happens is, because she was already staring at me and you tapped to shut down the staring, is she was further along than she was, because everything else, boom, 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 right? But right there, when I looked at her, she had the closed mouth, like she got it right now, she opened it. She had a closed mouth and her eyes were already locked on before I caught it. So when I said tap, she was already there, boom, she triggers, right? So we tend to think, oh, I made it worse, and we don't tap. You keep pressure on until you get her to shut down. And she goes, okay. I thought about lunging at Jessie, and I felt the sensation, and I lunged at Jessie, but then it just kept happening until I stopped lunging at Jessie, and then it went away. So she's thinking, oh, that sensation isn't telling me to go. It's telling me no. Okay? So you're going to get moments like that where you're going to trigger her potentially. Okay? It's part of the process. But that's why the number is so important. Because if we're too low, we're like more so annoying the dog and just creating more agitation. We could be too high where it's so abrasive that the dog doesn't really retain the lesson. And then there's like just right, okay? So we're somewhere in that middle of high enough where she's like, holy crap, that sucked. I don't want to do that again. What was it, that lunge? Okay, I'm not gonna lunge again. Okay, so she still has to be able to think through it, okay? Now the issue with this as well is obviously with reactivity, it can be embarrassing for some people. Their dog is lunging and they're sitting there with the collar and people, there's gonna be judgment, there's gonna be dirty looks and all that stuff. I've been there for 2 years or whatever, 10, 12 years. It's part of the process, unfortunately, okay? So I wouldn't worry about that. Your responsibility is controlling your dog, okay? Questions on any of that?
So originally I asked if I'm just working on the heel.
Oh, yes. So your main exercise this week is heel. Okay. However, if you come across situations where you think you're gonna see reactivity, I'm gonna leave it up to you. Okay. If in the beginning you'd rather do heel, and if you see a potential trigger, you cross the street, that's fine. Okay. If you feel like, hey, this is pretty straightforward, and I feel like it just target this now because it's just do what you've been doing, except now you have a tool to stop her. And what's the number that's gonna stop her, okay? But I leave it to you. At some point we're gonna have to, in order to see what is she retaining, okay? So like, let's say the first 3 days you decide just to focus on heel, and then on day 4 you feel pretty good, you see a potential trigger, you're like, you know what, I'm gonna step aside, shorten the leash, and see how Ember does with this. And then we see no reactivity, then they go, great, we've made some progress. So we want to see what is she still going to struggle with, okay? This spatial thing's going to be the hardest thing, okay? Other questions?
I came with her.
Tap, 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 and relax, relax. There you go. Go ahead and bump 10. Tap, 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 and relax. Good. There. So she's still there. A little bit of puckering here, mouth closed.
She's growing.
Now she's starting to open. 1 second. Now she's starting to pant. There it is. So one thing. So can you see her mouth right now?
I can see her body.
Okay. So her mouth is open right now. Open is venting stress and or relaxed state. Okay. Closed is tension. So that's your cue of like what's going to happen right now. So here she's back to open mouth and panting. When she's ready to trigger, you're going to see the mouth close. That's loading tension. Okay. Question? Do
I correct her as she's getting tension? Or?
Oh, sure. So the mouth closed is what I call an on the fence behavior. It can go either way. So earlier she had closed her mouth and licked her lips, but then went back to panting. Okay, so that was loading tension. She was saying what's happening right now makes me uncomfortable, but then she went back to relaxed state. We don't do anything. Okay. Here she kept the tension, but then exploded. So when you see the closed mouth, there's no right or wrong way. What I suggest is if you're gonna do an approach, let's say the approach is she's closed her mouth, I'm gonna see where she takes it. You would technically wait until she reacts. Or you can go, I see the closed mouth, I'm gonna be proactive and kick in right away. There is no right or wrong.
It's kind of like reading the situation, I guess.
Correct. But I always suggest to people to pick a certain approach and stick to it. So then if you're like, hey Jesse, you know, I've been ignoring her, closing her mouth, and it's been constant explosions, that I have to then shut her down. And then I go, okay, now we're gonna be more proactive about the closed mouth because it always leads to an explosion. Okay. Some dogs, like as she makes progress, you'll see like the mouth closed, but right away you'll see her licking her lips or something where she's already let going of the tension. The licking of the lips is just saying what happened or what is happening right now is stressing me out. That's not a bad thing. It's what does she do in response to the stressor that dictates collar or no collar. Okay. Other questions?
I'm assuming I just came with the prong collar and the e-collar both. Should I just continue to keep doing that?
Correct, yeah. That's gonna give you the most control. And then you have the prong above your remote collar, that's correct.
And then normally I don't walk her with a muzzle because I can distract.
Tap, 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 right? Tap, 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 tap. Go ahead and bump 10. Tap. 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 Yep. A little bit of pressure back. Tap, tap, then relax. Good. What's your number now?
Oh, 101.
Okay. So what was that last question?
So I should continue to use the e-collar and the prong collar.
Yes, the muzzle you said you
I
normally don't walk her with it. Correct.
Because I will avoid the stimuli and she doesn't get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
Should I, since I'm going to be testing the waters a little bit, just start routinely using the muzzle?
Correct.
Okay.
So if you always save the muzzle for like
danger zone.
Exactly. It becomes like I get some clients that always put the muzzle on the dog when they go to the vet.
Yeah.
So dog associates muzzle means vet.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So here, you could let's say you're going to go to an easy location, muzzle on, versus I'm going to go to a difficult location, muzzle on.
Right.
Right. And then if you're going to go to and it's not every time. If you go to a place and you're like, I'm not going to do the muzzle today, that's fine. But at least not creating a routine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Here, when she locked up, and she's like this, so she disengaged, but she was still staring me down, or what I call residual tension.
Yeah.
And we went up again. We want to get her always back to a passive state. Okay. Even if it takes me 15 minutes, that actually was earlier this morning. I have a really intense case.
Yeah.
And it took quite a while. And we were maxed out, and he's on 2 collars.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
He's really crazy. We were there for like 5-10 minutes before he finally backed off and disengaged. But then we kept repeating. And then by the end of class, we were on 30 and he was backing off, giving us no issues, okay? But we had to write it out because the dog has to give up the situation, okay? So if she becomes reactive and you don't shut it down, it's okay. It's gonna happen. But that tells you 60 did not work.
Right.
70, okay? You could go in jumps of 5, but we're already at 101.
Right.
Okay. So here, this is stuff I do with you to make you comfortable. So this way, when you're in this, because people will doubt themselves. They're like, well, she doesn't know if I should go any higher because I only went as high as 70 with Jessie. I will use it's a range, 127 levels of power. I will use whatever I need to within the moment to get the dog to stop. She's got enough concept now because it's simply don't do that.
Right.
That's all it is.
Right.
It's like, I don't care what you do, but don't growl and lunge at Jessie.
Right.
Okay? Other questions?
I think that's it.
So, homework is you come outside, potty break, start at 15, every 3 taps, no response, bump at 5 levels.
Okay.
Keep going up until you find their working range. Then, as long as you got the space and the capacity to, give her the slack leash. Like I showed you earlier, leash hanging by her armpit.
Yeah.
Okay? And then when you walk with her, we're not saying the word heel this week because I want to use the collar as much as possible.
Okay.
Okay? When we use the word heel, people tend to use the word heel more than they use the collar.
I see.
Okay? So when you come back in a week, I want you coming back like, hey, Jessie, I went for an hour-long walk. She was at my left side, did not pass me, did not try to pull me, none of that. And when I stopped, she stopped with me. When I stopped, she sat down, all blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to hear.
Okay.
Now, there's one thing that I was having you do, and she's been paying attention before your turns, which was slow down, right? I'll say slow, slow turn. What did you notice on those turns?
She kind of drifts.
On some of them, she did.
Yeah.
On the ones that she was paying attention, she turned with you,
Right.
right? So there's a dog coming, just so you know. Good, there's a lip licking and then the panting. Okay? So, when you're walking with her now, let's say you're gonna come to a stop, it would be unfair to abruptly stop. It's gonna be too abrupt, she's not gonna catch it.
Yeah.
So you wanna slow down first, she should slow down with you, and then stop, she should stop with you, okay? If she's not, that means she's not paying attention. So instead of walking and just stopping and expecting her to stop with you abruptly, we slow down first to see, is she paying attention? So if she's being mindful, she should slow down with you, okay? So I want you to start getting used to slowing down before you turn and before you stop when she's paying attention. If she gets ahead of you, you don't need to slow down. You would just turn and tap like I had you do earlier in an abrupt fashion.
Yeah.
Okay? Other questions? If you have any questions during the week, you can shoot me an email at the email I emailed you from.
Okay.
Expect to have some good days and some bad days, and just kind of figure out what it is that you're doing. By next class, I'll ask you like, what was your starting number? And you might say like, every day I would usually work my way up to 50 before she'd start responding.
Yeah.
And then I notice when like there's more stuff going on, she's at 70, and when there's less stuff going on, she's at 50. And then with the activity stuff, The highest I've gone is 90. Sometimes she stops, sometimes she doesn't. Okay, all that is information for me, so then we can adjust it going forward. Okay?
I just thought of a new question. There is a street near me that I could go down that's kind of like a city street, lots of people. Should I be...
Right, she's already thinking about it. Now she let it go. Do you see that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I heard it more than I saw it. Should I be going out of my way to put her in those situations, or should I just be doing like my normal routine?
As you get your confidence.
Okay.
Okay, so, because you're doing 12, right? I think is what you signed up
12
for?
weeks, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so we have plenty of time. If you progress faster and you're like, I get this and it makes sense and I can just do this, you know, you can start pushing her. I go by you. Okay, I've learned not to rush people into situations that they're not ready for, because then if something happens, they lose confidence and then they got to build them back up again. Okay. So if you do slow stuff for 3 to 4 days and you're like, I'm ready for the big stuff, and you go, and she has a couple of moments, but it's like you were able to stop and control her. It's like, all right, cool, because that's where it starts.
Right.
Part of being a good handler and or trainer is life's not black and white.
Yeah.
Life's not predictable. You know, like you could get no reactivity for 6 months and then one day reactivity. And it's like, all right, doesn't matter because I have tools and I know how to shut this down.
Right.
My pit, I've had maybe 3 experiences in my life where my pit became reactive, seemingly out of nowhere. I remember one day I was walking and I was crossing over Wabash and I saw my neighbor, and all of a sudden, and he had a basset hound, all of a sudden she just became reactive. It was an old basset hound. I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, I've never seen that from her before, but I wasn't like worried, like, oh my God, because I was like, well, I do this for a living, you know? So there's no such thing as a perfect dog, but it's here you're gonna pull up and then relax. But your good days should far outnumber your bad days, and you're gonna start seeing a bigger gap between all that stuff, okay? But progress at your own pace.
Yeah.
But we will have to push out the comfort zone in order to make progress.
Okay.
The reason why I didn't allow her to lay down is because you then have to give leash as slack, which then allows her to lunge forward. So even if you're gonna stop for like this kind of conversation, this is harder for a dog to do, but this works to your advantage because she has no leverage to lunge forward.
Right.
So then as soon as you pull up, you're already there, as opposed to if she lays down and I give the slack and then she lunges, now I have to be up here in order to stop her, okay? So going forward, when you're in this kind of context where it's like, I need to be in control of my dog, she will always be in a sitting position, okay? Other questions? All right, good job.
Thanks.
So, homework for the week, just the heel exercise. If you find the opportunities to press reactivity and you would like to press reactivity, feel free to do so. We capped at 100 today as reference for you. And then if you have any questions, just shoot me an email, okay? And you can place your mic on top of, or next to my canister there.